and we are live. So let's now wait for people to join. Hello to those who have already joined. So we will wait for another couple of minutes to let the other people also attend the event, and then we will kick it off. Hello and welcome everybody. We are live. My name is Riistop. I am Senior Sales Manager here at Comodule, and I'm responsible for the sharing market development. Today I have the great honor and privilege to moderate the discussion between our distinguished industry experts on the topic how to run a profitable scooter sharing business. So without any further ado, please meet our panel. So let's start off with Vince. Tell us a couple of words about yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Vince. I'm the founder and CEO of Joyride. Started the business back in 2014, really as a way to help cities build better cycling infrastructure. In 2017, we saw dockless mobility was growing and realized the biggest gap in the market was around software. And so we leveraged our own software platform to launch our own bike sharing fleet in the UK. And today, long story short, we're now in hundreds of markets around the globe, powering incredible entrepreneurs and their businesses who are doing really good things for the world. So that's a little bit of a Joyride.
Thank you, Vince. A pleasure to have you. Augustin, do you want to go next?
Yes, sure. So thanks for inviting me today. My name is Augustin. I'm covering the micromobility space since the last 2 to 3 years as my passion. I share a lot of knowledge and insights on LinkedIn and other social networks, so feel free to follow me there. And full disclosure, I also work for like a big automotive company called Volkswagen. I don't represent them here today in this panel. What I tell you today, my slides, my thoughts are my own, and not representing anything I do for like the Volkswagen brand.
Thanks, Augustin. Mats, can you go next?
Sure. My name is Mats. I am the CEO and co-founder of Surf Scooters, which have a fleet of around 700 scooters in Oslo, Norway. So we launched our first operation last year, and yeah, looking forward to the discussion.
Thanks, Mats. And last but not least, we have Jaan from Tuul.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jaan Kekišev. I'm the head of Tuul. Tuul is a scooter rental service we run here in Estonia, and we've been operational now for 2 years, and very much looking forward to the webinar today.
Thanks, guys. So now that we know everybody a little bit, I'm going to take you through the agenda very quickly so you know what to expect. So we aim to do the whole event in 45-minute sprint, and we will kick it off with 3 5-minute presentations. And well, there are profitability effect of multiple things, of course, and like of efficient operations processes, reliable hardware and software. So we will try to cover all of those during the presentations, and later on in the panel discussion, then our practitioners will bring more tips and tricks how to manage profitable operations as well. And yes, so after the short presentations, we will have the discussions in the panel. And on the technical note, then please be aware that the webinar is recorded. And please post all your questions into the chat. So we'll try to cover as much of them in the panel as possible. But so let's get to it. So as said, the profitability comes in different things. And I will, from Comodule side, then kick it off with telling you about what we here do and focus a little bit more on the hardware aspect, choosing the perfect vehicle for your sharing per se. So from the background, then Comodule started 7 years ago and really is a pioneer when it comes to connectivity and empowering micromobility. The core product of Comodule is IoT for different use cases, so be it rental or be it ownership. And back in the day when the first kick scooter boom kicked off from US, then we were basically also the only company out there that had the tech and the product to connect vehicles to the internet and then make them available for sharing. So that's our core business, has been for since the beginning of the company. And secondly, we also are in tight cooperations with different vehicle manufacturers. So we're also providing connectivity for privately owned vehicles. So we're a partner or tier 1 connectivity provider for bike OEMs, for example, who then get valuable insights from of the bike performance and then rider behavior after the sales is done. But also the owner of the bike then can interact with the bike, or if it's stolen, they can track it down. So we are really seeing that the IoT has a very strong use case in all sorts of use cases and light electric vehicles. And where the company is today is that we are more than 170 people, and we have connected a bit more than 450,000 micromobility vehicles. So it's e-bikes, e-scooters, mopeds, anything that's electric and smaller than a car. And some of our prominent customers count for sharing operators like Jump, Lime, Pony, Pick e-bike, but also well-known bike OEMs as Pon Bike, Super 73, Cake, and many others. But over the years that we have worked with a great number of sharing operators, then and connected like many different scooters with our IoT. The problem we've seen in the industry is that the IoTs always like seem to overlive the scooter lifetimes and do it like many X times. And with low quality of scooters, then sharing could actually never become a sustainable and profitable business. So next, I will share some insights what we have learned cooperating with smaller and larger sharing operators around the globe, and what you should actually keep in mind when choosing the best scooter for yourself. So first of all, riding comfort. Meaning that the scooter fits the road conditions in your city. If it's hilly, that it can take on the hills with breeze, or if it's uneven surfaces, that also the scooter can handle those. And also that the customers feel it is safe and good to ride the scooter. Then theft protection. So make sure that your asset is secured against vandalism and theft. and in case it is taken by theft, then that you have the possibility to track it down and retrieve it. The lifetime value of the scooter, how long does the scooter last, first of all, and what it costs to service the scooter then over the lifetime. So instead of only like looking at the purchase price of the scooter, then also like see like how the costs are divided over the effective lifetime of the scooter. The maintenance and support, how easy it is to switch broken components on the scooter, and how's the availability of spares, so that the scooter can be as much on the street as possible, that servicing the scooter doesn't cause much downtime. Then weatherproofness, like if you're in locations as we are here in Tallinn, where it pours rain over the summer and then you have a lot of snow and ice in the winter, then if this is the place you want to operate, then make sure that your scooter can also handle it. Then another point is differentiation. So when you're in a highly competitive market, then one way to differentiate and stick out is to have a different hardware at your hands than anyone else. So kind of like the scooter would market itself, it sticks out. And last but not least, then I would also mention fun factor, because this is why scooters became popular in the first place. So make sure that if your scooter ticks all the boxes that were mentioned above, then that it's still also fun to ride. And keeping all those points in mind, then we at Comodule built the co-scooter, a scooter with life expectancy of more than 5 years. It's built modularly for easy maintenance and to be the maximum time on the road. Batteries can be swapped also with rain and cold. And the scooter also has very good riding ergonomics, short braking distance and acceleration. And although sharing as a business model is green at its core, then building a scooter itself today rarely is. So we hope that more scooter operations take into account where the scooter is built and how it is done. So it might not affect profitability yet, but it's just the right thing to do. And as a last call to action, then if you want to learn more about scooter, then here's my contact, reach out to me, and happy also to get a sample scooter out to anyone who hasn't yet tried our scooter. Thank you. And next, we have a presentation from Augustin.
Should I share my screen or do you want to share the presentation?
Please feel free to share your screen yourself, Augustin.
Okay. Cool. Then let's see. Okay, here we go. You should be able to see it. So I will give you a little outside-in perspective on what I see at the moment here, like across Europe and also in North America, on trends, how to get like scooter sharing operations more profitable. And first I have to say I really like the Comodule scooter. So I'm testing it here at the moment in Berlin. And it's fun to drive and also fun to drive or fun to ride in bad weathers. Yeah, as Rivo said, please, I can encourage you to reach out to him to get also your testing model. So let's start with the leverages for like a profitable scooter sharing business that I see there at the moment. So I bucket them in through three different parts. So one is technology selection, the other one is city selection, and the third one is optimized operations. So if you start or like run a scooter sharing business, it's crucial to select like the right software, like either you build it in-house or you take one of the existing software as a service solution providers. As Rivo also mentioned, connectivity is key to track your scooters, to know the status of the scooter, also to send command to the scooters that cities are that you need to operate in cities or in certain areas like slow speed and so on. And then like durability, sustainability, and modular setup of the scooters is important to reduce the costs. And I think also a key part you should take into account and keep in mind is to have like a stable supply chain. So it's good if the scooter is like super robust and usable for sharing, but it also you need to get the models and the quantities you need. I think at the moment it's quite a challenge. So please keep this also in mind when you are sourcing for scooters. If we come to the middle bucket, city selection, so I think there we see at the moment that we have cities that like operating of shared scooters in the cities. Some cities are like against it. For example, if you've seen on Miami in the States, I think that they have some troubles there. Also in some cities here in Germany. So when I checked the news there, it's they try to ban scooters or put like hurdles. So no night riding, limit the scooter amounts on the streets, etc., etc. So I think that's like key to find the cities that are really interested to work with you as a scooter operator and that like the concept of scooter sharing or micromobility sharing. Second point here on city selection is the competition. They are like competition are the other like private scooter companies, shared mobility companies, but also like public transit. So this is also like a trend that I see here in Germany or in Europe. So that like scooter businesses are like or could be profitable and sustainable in cities with like a less dense public transit system because you have like less competition there. And then other points you should check here on the city side is like local infrastructure and local fees and regulations. This could be also like either supporting your business or that could be like a really like a roadblock. If you come to the third bucket of optimized operations, there it's key in my opinion to have like a demand-based fleet distribution, so to know where the demand is based on the time of the day, of the weekday, etc., and then have like optimized fleet utilization through your own channels, but also through aggregation, integration, and maybe other platforms and public transit platforms, but also like in terms of like Google Maps or Move It, and there are many more. And I think you also need to like optimize the uptime or maximize the uptime of your fleet based on your like own operations, maintenance, and so on. I think these are like on a high level 3 important buckets you should work on is like to get your business to profitability. On the next slide, I've just a few trends I speed up to stay in my like time window. So I think like hardware trends, here you see like all models mapped since like 2017. At the beginning, there was like a very high frequency of new models. So that's something we see here. And models are like getting already to industry grade, automotive grade with like swappable batteries, but basically stay the same. I think that's a great development towards like more sustainability and longevity of the devices. If we go to the next slide, like here are some key challenges cities and operators are working on. If you're interested, reach out to me. I have like a full deck of technologies that are getting implemented into the scooters, into the apps, etc., etc. So it's like really sophisticated with like artificial intelligence and other stuff. So there, if you're interested, reach out to me. I can share the full deck there on like current trends. Quick note on integration, aggregation. I mean, that's like a trend we see, like one of like as I mentioned, to increase utilization of the fleet, to have the progress or good progress to a sustainable business. And on the other side, I mean, integration, other platforms, especially like in public, like aggregators and apps like Yelby. It's like also public policy game, yeah, because cities like to see it, and you get like bonus points there if you get integrated in the local setups there. And then one last point from my side, I think that's like a current trend we see also in the industry with like leading players. Yeah, a lot of them started with bikes only, like Jump, Spin, and Lime. Then they basically abandoned the bike. They said like the scooter is the non plus ultra. Let's go for like the e-scooter. We make more business with that. But today you see, okay, that all of them, Spin, Lime, Tier, Bird, and Dot, they add like bikes. They like add like e-bikes. And I think the game changer here is like the shareable e-bikes. I mean, the bikes you have here today look completely different than what Spin and Lime tested or used 4 years ago. And also, I think they have realized, okay, they need to add like this kind of vertical or vehicle type to get like the benefits from the city, to get the buy-in from the cities, because they really like it. And in some markets, e-scooters are also not allowed, like in the Netherlands. So this is then also like a trick, or let's say a part of the strategy to expand the market reach, because then they can also operate in markets like the Netherlands with like the e-bikes, but not with e-scooters. I think that's it from my side. Yes. So yeah, as I mentioned, if you have any questions, if you need some slides or content, feel free to reach out to me, and looking forward to discussion later with Rivo and like the other participants.
Thank you, Augustin, and kudos doing so much content in 5 minutes. I think we could easily spend a day on going deep on all of those components that you presented. But as Augustin said, you can reach out to him, and then he can give anyone a deeper dive. So we started off on a micro level, focusing on the scooter selection. Then we went back to a bit of like a more macro level and covered like the trends and overall what it takes to become profitable. And now we will take another zoom in to the software. So Vince, please feel free to take it away.
Unmute.
Perfect.
Okay, you can hear me? You can see me?
Yes, all clear. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. So why software? Well, do you even need software to run a micromobility business? The answer is actually no. And this is a picture of one of the first dockless bike share businesses in the world, Call a Bike, which launched in the 90s, where a rider would literally just call the phone number on the side of the bike, and the system tells you the 4-digit code or sends it to you via SMS to unlock the bike. The problem is this isn't a convenient user experience, and it's a really inefficient way to manage a bike fleet. So now, virtually every shared mobility system uses software to manage their fleets and their customer relationship, including things like payments and support. And the Joyride platform allows any operator to quickly launch their fleet in their own brand, in their own market, with a branded native app and a full backend dashboard and API to configure their own market demands. And so what are the benefits of actually working with a software platform as opposed to potentially building something yourself? Well, the two biggest reasons are time and cost. Speed to market also having a cost as well. And you could certainly build your own app and backend, and we worked with many customers who have. And if you're looking for an experienced partner that can get you to market in a matter of weeks and not many, many months with all the features you actually need to launch and scale, then it becomes a really easy choice for yourself. And what are some of the features that you should have in a mobile app that are more or less table stakes at this point to really win in a market? Well, you'll want to offer custom promotions, custom discounts for your riders. You want to reach your riders with in-app messaging. Give them the ability to rent multiple vehicles at once if they're with a family. Give them many different payment options like Apple Pay. You'll want to include ID verification to ensure the safety of your riders or to meet any government regulations. And from the back end, you'll also need a full system that can really maximize your revenue and your profits. For example, some of your fleet may be used by the public in a public shared system, and you may also have another portion of your fleet used in the private rental space, for example, campuses, hotels, building amenities, delivery, long-term rental. And all of these use cases will require different configurations in your software, which will allow you to maximize the efficiency of your fleet and your profits. Other options you'll need to consider are having your own operations app for your employees who will be out in the field rebalancing your fleet. They'll have their own set of requirements as well. So it can get really complex. So how can software help you scale even faster and grow your profits? Well, you'll want a platform that can work with different vehicles from different manufacturers, as well as one that has As each manufacturer will have their own protocol and unique way of operating. And granted, working with Comodule makes that really simple with their IoT and other vehicles, but that complexity can still exist in your business. You also want to connect with different mass providers as well, so your vehicles can be rented out by people who don't even know about your app to reduce your customer acquisition costs. And you'll want all of those custom and local payment options available in your app. If you're launching in multiple countries, it would be really complex to add each of these on your own, and software can make that a really seamless user experience in your app for the rider. Again, maximizing your revenue by including more options and also by incorporating many different anti-fraud protections in your services like pre-authorization and other things that different payment gateways provide. As you scale, your team will also need to access more and more data and analytics. So you can do things like optimize rebalancing your vehicles so you can generate the most dollar per ride. You will need to enable your customer support teams to become more efficient. Your maintenance teams, you need to give them the ability to identify issues faster. Really, you want to use software to enable everyone in your company to work smarter and not harder. And with more complexities and custom configurations required by different cities, you need to be really nimble to be able to offer these new features. And so with really good software, you want to be able to quickly manage these things from a back end without constantly doing app updates and disrupting your user experience, because all of these features you want to be able to offer at the end of the day are meant to satisfy your customers and be able to generate more revenue for your operations so you can have the ability to grow your business without really relying on managing a giant software engineering team while also having a marketing team in the palm of your hand. So I think there's still time. I'm just going to play a super short video so you can get more context on how software is crucial to help scale your business.
The Joyride platform is obviously what a customer experience is through the app, but the technology that underlies it is what I and my team spend pretty much every waking hour looking at and analyzing. And the depth of data and the depth of analysis that we get out of the Joyride platform means that we can optimize the way that our fleets work to a ludicrous level of detail.
Let me stop this. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into software. Software really touches every aspect of your business, from your customer experience to everyone in your entire organization. So if you want to learn more, please feel free to reach out. And thanks, Rivo and the rest of the Comodule team, being great partners and inviting us today. Thanks.
Thank you, Vince. And you can now stop sharing your screen. So next up, we will do a very quick poll. We will push it up now. And basically what we would like for you to validate is what you think is the main factor affecting sharing business profitability. So is it efficient operations, the right vehicle, software, branding, climate, competition, public relations, or others? So if you think it's actually the most important factor is something else, then please let us know in the chat. So everyone, please cast your vote now. So we have 32 answers already in. Let's give 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. And we'll click now. And so the responses are here. So efficient operations, 49%. So we have a clear winner here. So 18 people from 37 say that this is the most crucial or most affecting factor to become profitable in doing scooter sharing. Second is software with 16%, and third is competition, and then the fourth one is the right vehicle. Thanks, everybody. And now we will head over to open discussion. So everyone new in the audience, please engage into the discussions. You can post your questions into the Q&A box. and then yeah, we'll happy to ask those questions from our panelists and hopefully get awesome insights. But I have the privilege to kick it off and ask the first question. So my first question goes to Jaan. Jaan, you guys with Tuul have now operated for 2 years, and you have already announced that you're profitable. So when did you actually make it to the black, and can you share like what's your secret sauce to become profitable in such a short time?
Thanks, Rivo, for the question. First of all, Rivo, Augustin, Vince, thanks for the presentations. Really insightful stuff. So actually, as I told, we started 2 years ago, and already on the first year, we started to see light in the end of the tunnel of the black numbers or profitability numbers. And we saw that, you know, if we scale the model a bit, and if we improve a bit the operations, then this could work out. So that was the main goal for 2021, to prove to ourselves and others that this model can really work bottom line profitably. And now last year we ended up with positive numbers. And to the second part of your question, you know, what is the secret sauce? As you saw from Augustin and Vince's presentations, it seems simple scooter sharing, but it's super complex. There's so many things that need to work together. So you really need to be able to orchestrate everything so everything will come together. But I'll try to still point out a couple of things what I think really has made the difference for us. So profitability, you know, it's an equation of two things from revenue and cost side. So starting from the revenue side, I think first and foremost, you need to build a service in a way that people love it. So you have to put the customer satisfaction into the spotlight. So keep that in mind when you design your service, when you build it up. Try to put yourself in the customer shoes. And, you know, connected to Rivo's presentation, then from the customer experience, I think scooter is the one that delivers the most experience. So definitely you can have an edge if you have a good scooter in your hand that people love. But then again, you know, you cannot foresee everything from the day one. So it's very important to build systems in order to capture customer feedback, to understand what people love and what they foremost dislike. And then taking that feedback very efficiently in order to redesign your service in a way to maximize customer satisfaction. And, you know, lastly, it would be very beneficial if you're a super user yourself. So you understand what are the things what need to change, and if you change something in the system, then you firsthand experience those changes and understand if they're good. So yeah, revenue side, build a service that people love. This way you can get customers and people won't go away from you. And then the second part is the cost side. So I want to highlight the importance of durability of the scooter. So you need to really, as Rivo told you, to really look at the total cost of ownership of the scooter, not just the purchasing price. So we've been operating the same scooters for 2 years, and we can already see that those scooters will last for at least 5 years. If we do proper maintenance, they could last even longer. So if there's a scooter that's costs 50% more, but the lifetime is 3 times longer, then the initial investment might be higher, but in the end, you will win. And, you know, lastly, efficient operations, what came out from the poll as well, is super important for us. I think like swappable batteries has helped us a lot. Also using efficient form factor operations vehicles like cargo e-bikes.
Thank you, Jaan. Thanks for sharing your story and your experience. So as we heard, then when Tuul has been live for the past like 2 years, and you guys are live at the moment in Tallinn, Estonia, right? Which is like let's say like an open market, so not heavily regulated yet. But in the panel we have Mats from Surf, and you guys are on a very different game board. So can you tell us what's happening in Oslo? So what happened last year with the legislation there, and how that has affected the profitability of scooter operations there?
Yeah, absolutely, Rivo. So Oslo, where we mainly operate, has been a city that has proven to be very profitable for sharing scooter businesses alike. So we have started to see the backside of the micromobility medal. Yeah, and we have had the municipality trying to reduce the amount of scooters so that all stakeholders in the city are taken care of while implementing the scooters. So what has happened is that we have moved from around 30,000 scooters, which was the peak in the summer of 2020, and then it was reduced within a month to 8,000 scooters. And we have seen, so what we are seeing really is the maturing of the market, the heavy regulations being put into place, and the micromobility being implemented in a way that everyone in the city are happy with. And to the second part of your question, Rivo, what was it once again?
Yeah, so basically, yeah, my second part was like, so
how it has
actually
affected the profitability.
exactly how the profitability has been affected.
Yeah, so obviously the top line has been reduced for a lot of the big players. The big players that used to have 10,000 or 20,000 scooters present in the city now have their share of the 8,000 total amount of scooters. But in my opinion, it's still possible to run a profitable fleet because lower scooter and still high demand means that each scooter will have more rides. So regarding profitability, it's still quite possible to be profitable in Oslo.
Cool, good to hear that. But there's also rumors that Oslo is yet again changing the game or the regulation. So, what's your opinion on that? So, what's happening now?
Yeah, so we are seeing that the local municipality wants to, as I said, improve how the city is for everyone, including people maybe that have poor vision, etc., etc. So my thoughts on the regulation, what is happening is that they will cut it down to 3 players in the city. But in my opinion, it's something that we need to do because in order to stay profitable in the long run, we need to have large enough fleets for operability or for operations to be making money, which we need to do at the end of the day. So to be very brief on what they are regulating it on, so they are taking into account who can provide the most secure service, who can provide the best or the most environmentally friendly service, and who can provide the cleanest city. So I think that this is the way it's going to go around the world, and we are ready to deliver on those demands.
Great. We also have some questions in the Q&A from the audience. So Enrique Lorenzana is asking, what is the list of countries more interesting to start this business? So maybe Augustin, you can share from your, let's say, your research that you've done. So what are like the favorite locations, or what are the factors for choosing those?
I mean, I think you can't answer this question in general. It depends on certain periods of time. So at the moment, or like last year, there was Poland and Eastern Europe was very hot to expand in those markets. I think we see now more activities again in France and in Italy, also because of the consolidation we have there. Ireland might be interesting as well when they open now regulations and allow also the pilots there. I think these are the major markets in Europe that are interesting as well. And then I mean another trend that I see is tier 2 cities and smaller. So that also the large players like Tier or Lime and Bird, they go in really small towns and cities as well, with only 100,000 or even less citizens in population. I think this is the trend there, or these are the trends on countries and city specifics we see at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Just to continue on what you just said, so what do you think? What are the outlooks for the now like new to come operators who are just starting up, like we've seen some consolidation on the market, like Tier and Nextbike, for example, Jump and Lime. So I think like this is like kind of like happening, like a macro trend that the big ones are merging and buying off the small ones, or if the smaller operators just don't sell, then they're pushed out of the market.
Yeah, that's definitely a risk you have as a small operator that is starting at the moment. I mean, here in Germany or like in Central Europe, they're like last year in 2020, they were like a small operator that started in 1 or 2 cities. Like either they merged with one of the bigger ones. I think it was more like a keep a face deal, or they disappeared. I think that's definitely a risk. But on the other side, maybe if you are interested to operate micromobility, like a micromobility service, there are other options as well to like partner with hotels, go more in this direction. Maybe there's an opportunity in this quick commerce section there at the moment, delivery space. So I think there are like more opportunities. You should think a bit broader. There are like definitely areas where it's less risky and where you have less competition there at the moment. I mean, it can be like a profitable business.
Mm-hmm. Clear. Good. And then I have a question also for Vince here. So you've been like in the sharing landscape from early days, you said, like since 2014, right? And your software is powering operators all around the globe. So how have you like developed software tools that help boost efficiency? And like what are like the main, let's say, the biggest challenges that you're currently trying to solve for those operators?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Yeah, we're powering lots of different operators all around the globe, like you mentioned. So each city, each country has their own requirements. I think one of the great things about this growing industry is that we partner with so many different companies who also build out additional tools and functionalities on top of our platform to offer these tools to our operators, especially the larger ones who need more analysis to get more data about their fleet, or help them grow and scale and make their fleet a little bit more efficient, make their business more efficient. And we're seeing that market continuing to grow with more and more partners being added to our platform. Other challenges that we're also seeing are, how do operators scale in different markets that have totally different requirements, say like around ID verification, where maybe you launch in one city that requires riders have to be over the age of 16, and then you get into another one that's riders have to be over the age of 18 or show their passport and not have a driver's license, or just really complex geofencing requirements that are different in each city, or different local payment options, or around data reporting like MDS and GBFS. Just the industry is moving so quickly and evolving really fast that if you're an operator, you really need to focus on the on-the-ground operations. And you just really need to make sure that you have all these software tools at your fingertips so you can quickly scale without having to think twice, and you can apply for all these permits without having to wonder, can I actually deploy my operations? Do I have all the features that the city is requiring me to have for me to actually run my business? So those are really the biggest challenges. We just have a lot of customers. We have some customers that just want to operate in their market forever in that one city. And that's great, and they can run and grow that profitable business. But then we have others with bigger ambitions that want to be in many different markets. And the reality is there are over 10,000 different markets around the world that can support this type of public shared system, not even talking about the private models. And so there's tons of opportunity all around the globe for anyone to launch this kind of business.
Thank you. Clear. And around, we will actually continue on the legislation topic. So there's also some questions in the chat about it. So Eloy is asking, in which country of the EU are the regulations for scooters the strictest? So I guess this is either the question that where I should not go, or if I'm like feel super strong, that's where I go and will win the tenders. So Mats wants to take the center. Let's go ahead.
So to answer the question, I would not be surprised if that market would be Oslo or Norway in general. We are having new regulations every week, so it seems, and yeah, that's my guess.
Anyone else
I think
want to add?
that's the challenge, or?
Yeah.
So I think that's the challenge, that you have cities changing regulations like frequently, and then like I think you need to look at it like from two aspects. One is like hardware regulation. So I think it was a big topic in Germany and Switzerland to get like certification of the hardware you use of the vehicles. I think that's one point. And then like more on the south, like Spain or like France, you have then also like tenders and fleet caps, etc. So I think it's again like a question where you need to be a bit more precise and look at the details.
And then we have a question for Julian Jaan. So very simple question: how to win tenders? So guys, Jaan, you had a secret sauce in the first answer. So what would you answer here?
So no experience in the field, but it's a simple process. You need to read what is written in the tender, understand how to get points, and then make an offer that you get maximum points. And then it goes difficult to really understand how to build a system that really fits to that tender. But as a general trend, what I've followed is still look what kind of tenders are there and what is asked, and it's positive to see that this kind of sustainability component is in there, and hopefully it's growing as well. So really, cities will look into the hardware and operations that is truly done in a sustainable way. So I think that's one thing to keep in mind, definitely.
So it's simple as that. So just follow the tender document and then answer the questions that are there. But I just remembered that early this year, then Ford-owned Spin announced that they are pulling out from all freely operated markets. Although like until then they over like the last summer and also autumn time, then they were like heavily expanding in EU, in Germany, UK, Portugal, and Spain. So and now they're saying that they will pull out from those markets and only launch like where the license would kind of like limit the competition. So Jaan, like what's your take on this? Like, are you like pro licensing at regulated markets, or you're rather actually for kind of like open market approach?
So I think the news of Spin pulling out, that was, at least for me, it was a signal that they haven't managed to make the operations profitable in unregulated markets. I probably believe that there are other operators as that as well. So far, a lot of companies have been fueled with VC money, so you don't have to focus on profitability yet. But it seems that the trend is a bit shifting, so the money is not flowing in. So really, companies have to look at the bottom line to understand where they can have a sustainable business. So in the near future, we probably might see other examples like this as well. In the question of regulated and unregulated market, then I am a true believer of open markets. So in regulated markets, the operators can hide their inefficiencies in the higher prices that they can push out due to the lowered supply that's capped in the city. So in the end, the end consumer is the one who actually gets affected. So they have to pay the cost of the inefficiencies of the operators who are there. So I truly believe that the open market is the way to go. It's most beneficial for the society. But then, of course, if it's fully open, then at some point there might be flooded scooters in the city, and then that creates the desire to again, regulate and pull the gas pedal. But in the longer run, I think it's the best way how to go. And the question, if we would, go only to the regulated market, then no. So we try to build up the service profitable from ground level in open competitive market. So for us, it's not the decision point what kind of market we will go in.
Clear. And I'm sorry we're already over time, but we have a lot of interesting questions put in the chat and Q&A. So I hope those who can stick around, then also the panelists can stick around for a little bit longer. So we will take some more questions from here. Yeah, but we'll still try to wrap it up in 10 minutes from now. So in the chat, there are a few questions. For example, there's a question to Vince. Could you share one of the profitable case with a fleet less than 50 scooters? So can you share a sharing scooter, profitable sharing scooter scheme where you have less than 50 scooters?
Yeah, so we don't have access to the full financial data of our operators, right? Like we're limited. So I don't know how much they're paying their employees and things like that. But from what we can see, if it's less than 50 vehicles, generally an operator who's launching with less than 50 vehicles, it's like more of like a tourist service, or it might be like a private service. It's not necessarily like a public citywide fleet. So those private fleets that our operators launch can be really profitable. Like, for example, we have one operator who's launching private fleets and amenities in apartment buildings in across the United States, and they've launched one actually in the Amazon Music corporate office, for example, in New York. So there's like really cool use cases there. I wouldn't necessarily say 50 vehicles for a public shared fleet is a great business model. I would say focus on private if it's that small.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And then we have a question about batteries and swapping. Christian Ollier is asking what you guys think of user swappable batteries. So kind of like what Tier is doing, setting up like swapping kiosk where the customer can go and swap the battery themselves. And how long will it take until there is like a common standard across the providers, so that those kiosks would, so that it would be efficient, that also, yeah, like whichever operator is scooter you're using, that you can like use the same kiosks. I think it's actually related to the one single standard for scooter batteries. So what do you think? Is this one common standard? Is it in our reach, or it's kind of like still a dream for the longer future? Does anyone have
maybe my 2 cents? Yep. 2 cents there. I think on standardization, I think yeah, it's needed, but I don't see any trend going in this direction. There's some initiatives trying to do it, but there's basically no pressure in the market, and like the large scooter suppliers, they're all competing, so I think they wouldn't join forces on the batteries. I think that's one point. Yeah, it would be nice to have, but really challenging to get there, and there's no pressure to get there. And then on the user side, I haven't seen any like adoption from Tier, so they haven't, like as I know, they haven't announced anything or shared anything. So it might be a signal that it's below expectations, but that's my personal assumption, personal view. And I think that definitely there are some scooter users that look on the costs and then maybe select credits or collect credits to like replace the batteries, swap the batteries, etc., etc. So something that we have seen in car sharing also before, like we're driving now, and others said, okay, you get like discounts and ride credits if you go to the gas station and fill up the car. I think this kind of user segment could be there with scooters as well. But yeah, it's an additional hurdle for the customers, and let's see if it really picks up. And nobody else like Tier is doing it since more than a year, I would say, and I don't know any other supplier like scooter operator platform that has copied that. So yeah, let's see.
Thank you. So we have 5 minutes until we wrap it up. So it's time to come to summaries. So and all of the questions that we have got from the audience, and we haven't managed to cover over the panel here, then we will circulate them between our panelists, and we will come back in writing so that all of the questions also get an answer. And as a last question, then as we are like already in the year 2022, so I would give a free mic to all of the panelists to either like pinpoint a trend or a big shift or any big development in the sharing industry that you see happening this or the next year, or if you also like see any inefficiencies that are still there, but there's like no cure for, please feel free to let us know about those, or you can just leave the new operators with some suggestions or anything you have in your mind. So let's do like a final recap from all panelists on a pretty wide and open topic here. Who wants to go first?
I can go first. So I would say we see more consolidation and more like e-bikes in 2022, if like this supply chain is enabling it. Right, and when you say more e-bikes, you think in sharing or overall also ownership. But maybe I'm just asking, do you think that one of those business models actually cannibalizes the other one, or actually the whole micromobility and everything is growing? I think like everything is growing, and I mean e-bikes, you see them, you have the like not shared e-bikes, you have a huge market potential outside of the city areas. I think that's also we will see more there, and in like the shared micromobility, e-bikes will also grow because like cities like them. It's necessary to conquer some markets, like I mentioned in the Netherlands. I think it's the models we have now, they are like different grade and way more like shareable than what we have seen 4 years ago. Vince shared some of the early pictures of like shared bikes. I think it's a completely different game now. I agree, absolutely. Jaan, do you want to go next?
Yes. So my prediction, I'm going with the data what I have in my hand or what I've seen in the media. I predict a lot of big companies will go public. So this will be very interesting to get to see how their business is actually working. So as you know, Bird went public recently and they needed to publish their numbers. So this is definitely 1 or 2 year thing that will happen. And then the second part, a recommendation for a new scooter company, what to think of them. I truly believe you need to have a bigger purpose why you are doing it. Just going after the numbers or after the money, I think it will be a difficult path. So you need to understand what is your North Star, what you try to aim to keep your direction right.
Thank you. Vince, can you go next?
Yeah, I think a trend that we're seeing is really democratizing the whole space and seeing more and more smaller operators being able to launch really quickly, getting access to some of the really high quality vehicles that the bigger operators can, getting access to financing, to insurance, and you can, not to plug us, but you can do that through a platform like us, but also being able to get access to the knowledge and the operational teams around there as well. So it's really becoming more democratized. We see ourselves helping in that space in the same way Shopify is doing that in the e-commerce space.
Thank you. And Mats can put a point to this discussion.
Yeah, sure. So I'm expecting to see operators continuing to innovate on how to take care of all stakeholders in society. So the market is shifting over to a game where you want to take care of your users, over to a game where you want to take care of the cities and the city as a whole. So yeah, I can see I can see that we ourselves are innovating on how to make the services safer, how to make them better for everyone, and I'm expecting more players to join in.
Thank you. And with this, we are done. So thanks everyone who pushed it through until the end. Thank you, our panelists. Great thanks goes to our Comodule marketing for setting it up and then technical support. And we will be then sending a follow-up email to all of the participants. And we will also then share the recording of the event. Thank you, everyone, and stay safe.